Oh yeah, before we move past this, dude. Yeah, I think Simu did a great job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was very poignant. It was he represented how we all felt about it. It's like, what the is this shit, dude? What a weird. It's like, to me, it wasn't offensive. It was almost like a Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah, it was so arrogant that you're like, are you that
dumb? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to an episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. We didn't have an episode last week because I've been busy doing shit, and sometimes Papa needs a break, dude. Fuck, man. The funny thing is, it's like when sometimes there's moments where there's no ads, and I'll just immediately call. I'm like, do I have to do a podcast? They're like, you can skip this one. I was like, all right, cool. Because, you know, when ads come, you do have to post.
Right. You're contractually obligated.
Yes. But sometimes it's like, dude, I need a fucking break, man. We have this podcast, the MMA one. We have me and Tim's podcast. Sometimes my brain is fried, dude.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, we haven't done a movie review in a while.
I know.
Just saying. I mean, I'm glad you appreciate me for more than just my movie thoughts, you know?
They want these movie reviews. I need time to watch the movie in the first place.
I get so many, whatever DMs I'm getting, it's about, can you please review this?
I think the hard part is, like, when we do these movie reviews, it's like, I don't think people understand it's actually not that easy. No, I wouldn't say it's not easy.
Do you like doing book reports?
Yeah. It's basically a book report.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's also, like, I do want to talk about Shogun. I want to do all this other stuff.
Oh, so you saw it on that flight, right?
Yes.
Korea, Japan?
To, where the fuck?
You were going
Hawaii.
to Korea. Hawaii, okay.
Yeah, I watched it in Hawaii.
But then, I mean.
Yeah, it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they swept everything.
Yeah.
Dude. It's like one of those things too where I get a little nervous when I watch, it's not a historical piece, but it's like, like back in the day type of Asian stuff with samurai tropes.
Yeah.
That stuff always concerns me. Like,
yeah.
Because like, is it going to be corny?
Yeah.
But they did such a fucking good job.
Really good job. And then, I want to be a hater too, like, oh, okay, another fish out of water, white guy story, yada, yada. And then, you know what? I was rooting for him to get together with what was her name again? Anna Sawai. Yeah. She won the Emmy too. Yep. Oh my gosh, she was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. There's a movie coming out with I think it's Taika Waititi with Jimmy O Yang and Ronnie Cheng.
Oh, he's coming out with a.
I think Taika Waititi's directing it, and then Jimmy O Yang is in it, and also Ronnie Cheng is like the main.
So it's like an Asian
thing. I don't know exactly.
I mean, they're not American.
Yeah,
neither of them, right? None of them are American, right? Yeah.
They have It looks pretty good, man. I will say this, though, and I wonder if I'm going to get some flack for this. And once again, I'm only solely speaking about this from, like, a film watcher's perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big Ronnie Cheng fan. Like, stand-up comic writing, he's hilarious. He's one of the worst actors I've seen on screen, though.
Yeah.
He's pretty fucking bad, man. And it's hard for me to, like... And like I said, we're not talking about him as a stand-up comic. He's one of the funniest dudes out there, especially as a writer.
Yes. And his conceptual writing, because he was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he's
so
fucking smart.
So fucking
yeah.
good.
That's why he's on The Daily Show,
Hell yeah, but fuck, man, you suck at acting. God damn it, dude. And I think most people can fucking agree. He was in that film. It was like a horror film.
I don't watch horror, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't really watch it either. But it's like this. It's like a doll that comes to life.
Oh, Megan
or something like that, right?
Like that.
So he was in that film.
Yeah.
He stuck out so bad because everybody else was so good, right?
And like, that's when it. Yeah, that's.
And like my biggest critique of him is like, bro, maybe it's because he's a lawyer and he's so like type A personality. That's how he reads lines. It sounds like he's at a table read and he's reading off a piece of paper when he says his line.
Yes. Well, because he's also English being his second language.
So is Tony Leung.
Tony Leung. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I think Jimmy O Yang too.
Yeah. With Asian like people, it's just like, come on, speak English.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, come on. Like, I mean, people are gonna call you Asian American regardless. It's
Wait,
like,
where's he from? Malaysia?
He's from Malaysia. Yes.
Oh, then
Singapore.
English is, Singapore. Then English is his first language.
Yeah.
He has no
okay.
excuse. Yeah.
So he just has a weird accent that doesn't help with. I mean, there's a funny clip I remember from Tiger Belly where Bobby's like, "You can't say your R's, huh?" And then he's like, "My name is Ronnie."
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I thought that was a legit roast. But it's like, wait, I mean, he can say Ronnie.
Yeah, dude. It's just
something that maybe doesn't digest well.
He just can't emote. Like he has no emotions.
And so he has the same tone when he's
it's like he doesn't know how he can't emote. So anything outside of being
so
angry,
if he's sad or
Exactly.
like happy or it's that same tone.
it's like not believable at all. It just sounds like he's reading off a piece of paper. He doesn't have acting chops, and it's just like I don't know if he could train it in him or something, but it's like he's almost like a robot, which is so offensive to say because he's Asian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what he feels like. He feels like a fucking robot. Like when he says his lines, and every time I see him in something, I was first excited because it was Ronnie, and now I'm just like, oh fuck, is he gonna ruin this movie again?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, then who would you put in? Who's out there?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure he could fit the role pretty well. He just has to he has to do like some shrooms or some ayahuasca to unlock his emotions.
It's like poke him with the cattle prod and be like, scream! Come on, I need you to scream!
Like you'll even see in the trailer for that film, like he's like this. He's supposed to be super excited for Jimmy O Yang because he's dating a white girl or something.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're dating a white girl, but it sounds so bad. It's like you're just. I just wish. I'm almost 100% sure he's not taking acting lessons.
Yeah.
Because he has a name to himself, so he doesn't have to. He's going to book these roles either way. So maybe for him, it's like, dude, take a break, 3-month break, and then... Because even for that film, Megan, one of the biggest critiques is, why is Ronnie Cheng in here? He ruined the movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, because he felt very out of place.
Yeah.
And like when you have people who are consummate professionals in acting, and then you have somebody who's there because of, they're a great personality, and they might be able to fit this role, they're going to stick out so bad. And it happens in a lot of fucking films.
In a producer's shoes, and, if it's not the director's choice, and the producer or the higher-ups is like, this is a Ronnie Cheng, we need a role. Or it doesn't have to be Ronnie Cheng. Let's just say whoever out there that the director doesn't choose or whatever, right? Are we saying then that, are these particular actors then chosen because, hey, if their name is on the billboard, then they're going to get in those seats?
I feel like that's what it is. He was even bad in Thor when he had that small role in Thor.
He was in Thor?
Was it Thor?
No, he was in Shang-Chi.
Oh, was it
I
Shang-Chi?
Speak ABC.
Oh, yeah. He was bad in that too.
Come on, man. You had like 5 minutes.
Man, it was pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had to play some weird underground bookie gangster.
Yeah, and it was just terrible.
I don't know. Is that what he is? I don't know.
It was just like, oh God, man, you can't deliver these fucking lines to save your life. And that's anybody could look good against Simu.
Hey, okay. So speaking of Simu, in the news, hey, Team Simu.
What's so interesting about that? Like, it didn't seem like a big deal to me. Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't really.
It was the background being we have a show called Shark Tank,
and that's the Canadian version.
And the Canadian version is called The Dragon's Den.
I guess.
Okay.
And they had Simu come on.
Yeah, so they can.
Yeah, whoa.
So and so these French Canadians.
Hilarious.
Here's the thing. If I looked for Simu Dragon's Den Boba full clip, and all I could find is like clips of it and like fucking memed fucking clips.
Yeah.
So I don't have proper context.
I haven't seen the whole episode.
Of the whole clip,
It's probably not any better.
Yeah, but from what I could gather was that these dudes, these entrepreneurs, were being pretty arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah, with their process of coming in and saying Boba's no longer ethnic. So in essence, they're saying our drink has a lot less Asian in it.
Yeah. Which is so fucking hilarious. It's like, who are you trying to market this to?
Yeah.
Like, who are you trying to sell this to? Because like the idea too, it's like it's popping boba. It's been around for a very long time.
A long time.
You see it in mango sago. You see it in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
A bunch of drinks, desserts, everything.
If you're on a college campus in the 90s and early 2000s, that's when I first started seeing boba pop up everywhere. Yeah,
and that popping boba thing is not a new idea, but their thing was that they put alcohol in it. And I think their pitch was like, this is a healthier version of boba, which was so fucking funny because it's alcohol. It's like, it's literal poison. Alcohol is literal poison. It's just like, that was like a Key and Peele sketch moment. So when I saw that, right, the first thing that popped, here's the reason why, is because I've done reality TV, right? We did the cooking show. I've been on set as a PA for a few other things too. So it's like, what people don't understand about reality TV is that reality TV is not reality TV.
No.
There's not a single thing on reality TV that's not already predetermined or kind of set up to guide it that way.
I filmed and edited them.
There you go, right? So when people look at reality TV, they think like, oh, this is a raw, real reaction.
Yeah.
Let me just give you a great example. There was that great show, well, not so great because they did terrible things, but it was the Japanese show, Terrace House.
Right.
With the young girl who committed suicide.
Yeah, the wrestler, the WWE.
Yeah.
Slash Japanese wrestler.
One of the producers were kind of like goading her, telling her, oh, maybe you should fight. You should do. Those are the things that go behind a lot of reality TV. And the reason why people loved Terrace House was because it felt so untouched, right? It was, for some people found it a little boring. I really enjoyed it because it just felt real. Like there was just cameras and they were just talking about their everyday stuff, which was such a weird thing to observe, right? It turns out that, obviously as seasons go on, things have to be a little bit crazier. Things are set up to be the way that it is. Now, what I'm saying is that when I saw this, I was like, oh, they knew Simu was going to be on. And so they put this person specifically in front of him.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing that I just find kind of just like, okay. You know what I mean? It's like,
okay, it was, as a producer, if you're, I don't know, vice versa, flip it then. Let's take a bigger picture at this.
Yeah.
Rather than what people are arguing about, right? Let's go 30,000 feet in the air and look at it. Yeah, there's still a producer of this fucking TV show called The Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
Why is it called The Dragon's Den?
Yeah, I have no fucking clue, dude.
Is that a Canadian term for entrepreneurship?
I guess.
I don't know.
I don't fucking know at all, dude.
Because when
I didn't even know the show was called The Dragon's Den.
Right, yeah, that's what it's called. Because, okay, so I would assume then it's more of an English thing. I think there is a BBC version called Dragon's Den, too.
Okay.
Because, the English, a knight would go and challenge a dragon.
Maybe that's what that is.
Right, so for us, the Shark Tank, you drop someone in the Shark Tank with the sharks.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. But, like, that motherfucker, at the same time, knew there was these Boba guys.
And they put
Simu in there.
Which is very on brand for him because his brand is that he likes to complain about Asian things. So it's like, not even as an insult, but like but on a brand, right? That's his thing, right? That's his thing. It's like whenever there's something that's Asian that pops up, you already know Simu is on like Instagram threads going like, I can't believe this is happening. Here's a shirtless photo of me.
So, okay. Now, that's 30,000 feet in the air. Okay, let's go fucking into space and we're aliens observing Earth.
Yeah.
Looking at it that way. Now it looks like, the powers that be, maybe the heads at Disney is like, Simu's got a bad rap right now.
Yeah.
He was in Barbie and everyone on set said he was the real life Ken.
Yeah.
Because every fucking journalist was like, so who's a real Barbie and who's a real Ken? When they're promoting that shit.
And if you watch the movie, you know what Ken is.
Yeah, what they say a Ken is.
It's not very positive.
Yeah, and everyone's saying that's Simu in real life, right? So he started getting a bad rep. A lot of people were like just attacking him for anything he said.
Yeah.
We haven't said anything about Simu since.
Yeah, I think.
It was like
there's
your
a lot
old
of
house.
Yeah, there's a lot of people because I don't want people to think I dislike him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's not true. It's just that this is a podcast and people suggest topics and he seems to be a hot topic. So people want to know our opinion. And so like the idea behind that is like, even when he DM'd me, he was like, oh, we're still cool. I'm like, cool about what? You're just a podcast topic. Like, don't fucking know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right. So as what I think Disney was like, we need to make him likable.
Yeah.
And they put him in a likable situation and they sacrificed these poor white Canadians to the left. That's Disney.
Yeah, they did a great job of that.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, because he was getting a lot of flack, right? And arguably, to be honest, rightfully so, because I think he has a trouble understanding that nobody gives a fuck about your personal thoughts like that.
Because everything was personal.
Everything was personal.
So personal.
Even if stuff that had nothing to do with him, it was personal.
Yeah.
And he would insert himself into things that nobody asked him for.
Yeah.
And then he also has to realize, too, there's a track record of the things that you said in the past. So if you stand on a moral pedestal, your track record has to speak for itself. You can't be on Reddit saying stupid shit with the fucking, with the, what do you call those things? What do you call those Reddit losers? Incels, that's right. I happen to be one too. But you know what I mean? It's like you can't be an incel Reddit guy. You can't support Mark Wahlberg and thrash him about, beating up an Asian, blinding an Asian guy.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're doing a film with them saying people can change. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think people are going to dig that shit up?
Yeah.
Like a lot of, and this is just like the tip of the iceberg with the guy, right? So it's just like, for me, it was just like, just be a great actor, and then that'll speak for itself. Like you're already doing great things, and that's enough.
Man, that kind of sounds like Mark Wahlberg, like coming up to Simu to be like, "Yo, I'm not a racist."
Yeah. Like, I mean, Mark Wahlberg arguably, I mean, not even to his defense, the guy that he blinded, he forgave him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which that, between them, that's great. I still think Mark Wahlberg's a piece of fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to change, like at all. Like the fact that you back in the day, even if it was in your past, right? I'm not saying that I'm judging him for who he is now, but that's really, if that was my father, and you blinded my father just for being an Asian person, you're dead to me for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's why I don't like what was it? His burger franchise, Wahlburgers.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Yeah, like apparently for the whole entire time that they were in business, they were trying to get an alcohol license.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of what they were trying to do with their business, but they couldn't because of Mark Wahlberg's hate crime past. So that's why Mark Wahlberg, if you've noticed, been doing a lot of this Catholic stuff, this community service stuff. Because in that time, he was trying to get that pardoned off his record so he can get a liquor license.
Though. It happened.
Yeah, it happened.
It's on your fucking record. It stays on there.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you truly felt remorseful for it, you should let it stay there.
Yeah. And you admit to how you live your life with that scarlet letter, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That R, scarlet R.
Yeah, the scarlet R, dude.
Yeah, the racist.
Cut to like me doing a film with Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. Hey, maybe Simu was right, dude. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Nah, man. Like I said, this is not me standing on my moral pedestal saying like this guy hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I'm saying for me, it's hard for me to move past it. Right. Just because I could see my father in that position, I can see my grandfather in that position, and it's just hard for me to move on. I'm not saying that it negates any of the good stuff that he's doing now. I'm not saying that he isn't a good person now either. It's just for me, I just choose not to move past it, and I just don't want to support him in that type of stuff. Yeah. Like I said, he could still be a cool ass dude, but it's up to me to decide whether I want to fuck with him or not, right? Like it matters. Like it fucking matters.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's hard for me to look past that. It's just I don't know. It just kind of bothers me.
My friend, so he's half white, half Korean, like a lot of my friends from Tacoma are. He told me, he's like, dude, my dad, grew up in the 50s and 60s, and he said he fucking put out a cigarette in a black kid's eye. I'm like,
what the fuck?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's like that's the kind of people you grow up with and live with.
Yeah.
And how am I supposed to tell him? I'm gonna be like, yeah, your father's a piece of shit. He lives with that.
Yeah.
He lives with that, okay?
Yeah. That's some crazy ass shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting part too. Like, oh yeah, before we move past this, dude, I think Simu did a great job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought it was very poignant. It was he represented how we all felt about it. It's like, what the fuck is this shit, dude? What a weird. It's like, to me, it wasn't offensive. It was almost like a Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah, it was so arrogant that you're like, are you that
dumb?
Yeah. But then again, you're probably like, okay, maybe French Quebec literally is just another country.
Maybe
in a country.
I mean, apparently they have French people that even French people hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They think that they're like the most arrogant people on earth. And that's coming from French people from France.
Right.
Which is hilarious. They're like, you over here speaking this fucking French that nobody uses and shit. Apparently that's what I've heard from other French Canadians.
Yeah, from what I hear from how French Canadians feel is that the rest of Canada that doesn't speak French is bullshit Canada.
Exactly. I don't understand
not the
what
real
that's
Canada.
About.
Yeah.
Fucking makes no sense. You guys are number 2 USA. That's what it is.
You're still number 2.
You're the consolation
you're the
prize.
51st state, dude.
Oh, fuck out of here. Just kidding. Yeah. I love Canada. But man. When we talk about that, like that concept of like forgiveness too, like I sometimes don't like it when people say, like, just because you did something good later on in the future doesn't mean that I have to accept this new version of you.
Right.
Like you can live happy being a good person without me having to forgive you. Right. And I feel like sometimes people, when they become a better person, they think that they are allotted to your forgiveness. Yeah. It's like, oh, now you're a bad person because you don't forgive me, even though I'm a better person. Right. It's like, how does that fucking work, dude? It doesn't change what you did.
Yeah.
And like now there's a distrust, and I've experienced this a lot too, where I was talking to one of my buddies of mine, where he has a fucked up cousin, long story short about the cousin, he tried to steal his social security number when he was a little kid because his cousin was a not cousin, his uncle.
Yeah.
His uncle was a piece of shit. He was at home as a kid, and his uncle was asking him for his social security number, right?
Wow.
And then he's a kid. He doesn't know why, but he's trying to sign like new bills and new accounts under somebody else's name because his shit's all fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's like a kid at this point. He's like maybe 7 years old. And then his mom overhears this conversation, and she goes, "Who's that?" He's like, "Oh, let's call him Uncle Ted." So it's Uncle Ted. He goes, "Oh, what's Uncle Ted calling you about?" He's like, "Oh, he's asking for my social security number. What's the social security number?" He goes, "Oh, really? Give me the phone." And apparently his mom went upstairs and started cursing him the fuck out. "What the fuck are you asking for my kid's social security number?" And he's been doing all this type of shit, stole money from the family. The list goes on and on and on. So, he goes off to somewhere else, gets married, gets a divorce, and starts to come back into their lives. But now he's living with his grandma, his mom. And in his mind, he's calling him up like, "Oh, I'm a better person. I've changed." He's like, "No, you're not. Go fuck yourself." Like, you did all this other stuff. But I'm pretty sure in his mind, he goes, "Well, I'm a better person. Why are you not accepting me back in your life?" It's like, because we had that choice not to. You have a precedence that you set that we don't trust you.
Yeah.
So I get to decide when I let you in my life. You can't force your fucking way in and say, "I'm a better person, so you have to accept me." I just think it's a weird thing. And a lot of people do that shit. And I fucking hate it.
I mean, yeah, it always comes in time. Remember, there was 2-3 years ago, I literally had to admit, like, yo, I don't understand the concept of forgiveness anymore.
Yeah.
And I had all of this pent up anger and rage because for all the people who I had thought I had forgiven, when I had a big crisis of faith, I've lost that concept of forgiveness. And I was just angry at everything all over again.
Yeah.
And then over time, it just was hard to understand, like, how to forgive. It's just like, it was killing me inside, and everyone was just like, "Oh, it's just time," And then my impatient ass, I couldn't fucking wait, and it was just driving me crazy. And then even to the point where I kind of finally got it when you were like, "Oh, one of our friends almost died," and then I was like, in my head, I was literally like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that guy, you know? And so I finally understood it. It's like, oh, that's what you mean by "you're dead to me."
Yeah.
Because if you had died, I wouldn't give a shit either.
Dude, I got a few of those people in my life.
Yeah.
And like, I just had a talk with my mom where she always updates me on one of our cousins' lives. Yeah. Right? And I fucking hate this guy.
Like, why are you getting the updates?
She keeps fucking updating me about this fool's life. And I think I know what she's doing. She's trying to reconnect us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, he's married now. He has a kid." And I'm like, "That's cool. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. He could open up a church for all I fucking care. And I hope a meteor hits him on the way." Like, that's how much I dislike this guy. But she keeps updating me on his life.
Yeah.
And she's trying to reconnect us. Right? And so I had and now that I can speak Korean, I had a long conversation with her. I was like, "Hey," "this is a problem that you and our dad have." Where I was like, "You guys look at our cousin as a little kid that you helped raise when you were a kid, or when we were kids. I look at him as a peer, as an adult, right? You see, your bar for him is so low. It's like, you don't understand that when you say things, this is what she says to him. He's like, "Oh, he's working now." I'm like, "Mom, that's what an adult does." To her, that's like a big feat.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys talk about him as if like him living a normal life is him doing good things in this world. No, he's just doing what he's supposed to do finally at almost the age of 40.
Okay, but also, why did they assign you to become this kid's?
I don't fucking
pull her
know.
up, or like you got to pull his pants up for
Yeah,
him,
it's like,
kind of
oh
thing.
yeah.
Like, you'd be a good influence. Like, yo, call like somebody else.
Yeah, call some, exactly, dude. And she's just like,
how am I the good influence?
and I'm telling her, I was like, "Hey, this is I was like, she was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Doing so much better." I was like, just going to work and then getting married is not a feat that I give a fuck about in his life.
Right.
If you tell me that, hey, he came up to all the members of our family and proved that what he did wrong, and then he truly apologized for it and showed it in his behavior, now we're having a different conversation. What you're telling me right now is like you telling me, "Oh, he went to the grocery store today." I don't care. I don't give a fuck. And so for them, like, I explained it. Now she's not bringing it up anymore.
Yeah.
And I just told her, I was like, "Hey, I don't fucking care. If he died tomorrow, I literally wouldn't shed a tear. I wouldn't cry. I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, here's why. And I was like, I'm gonna just give you an example. Recently with his brothers, I'm still cool with his brothers. They went out and they had a long conversation, and the topic of me came up because we're around the same age and we used to kick it a lot.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I just like want him to like forgive me, blah, 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 blah. And his older brother, the one that I'm cool with, was like, hey, just to give you a heads up, David hates you. Right? And he told me this while we were drunk. We were talking together. I told him you hate him. I was like, good. And he goes, like, yeah, I was just explaining to him. It's like, you can't do all the fucked up shit that you did and said and then expect him to just accept you just because you say that you're better.
Yeah.
And he basically what he told him was like, listen, I know you're not better because even though you're telling me this right now, you wish you could friend that you're a better person. You're not smart because you open your mouth to other people and people tell us the shit that you're saying. So for example, this is what he'll do. And this is like one of the biggest reasons why I dislike him. What he says to you is different than what he'll say to somebody else.
Yeah.
So he'll like in front of me, he'll be like, hey man, I just want to say like I was in a bad place at the time and I did a lot of bad things. I did, I'm truly sorry for that. I understand why we're in this, blah, blah, blah. Sent me a whole text message. I just fucking blocked his number, deleted it. I go up on Facebook. I was like, well, let me see what he's up to, right? A couple days later, a post, family and friends don't mean shit. Everybody doubted me, blah, 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 blah. I got my fucking master's in this now. I'm doing well. And nobody said I could make it. And you guys were all wrong. So which is it? Are we the fucking assholes in your life, or were you the person that fucked us over and we cut you out?
Yeah.
So what he says to me and what he says to other people are two different things. Because you're a two-faced fucking snake, and when you die, I'm gonna piss on your fucking grave. So like that's what my parents don't see and they don't understand. Because when he goes to them, how are you, uncle, auntie? How are you? I hate people like that.
Yeah.
And so for the rest of his life, he's fucking dead to me. If he died tomorrow, I literally wouldn't care.
Precisely. That's a new concept that I had to learn. And honestly, that is actually brings so much more peace. Because I thought peace meant forgiveness.
Yeah.
But no, like that inner peace of what if I just didn't think about it?
Perfect.
What if they were just dead to me, like they were gone and they didn't exist? There's so much more peace in that too.
Yeah, I think that's where I live, right? Like if we talk about it on a podcast, yeah, it gets really emotional and it's partially entertainment and reliving the story.
Yeah.
But in my day-to-day life, he doesn't fucking exist.
Okay.
Right?
So my cousin, right? He lives up north in the valley, and my mom visited because it was my uncle's 70th, right? That's why I have this Dodgers jersey. I bought it for him because it was his birthday, but it's an Ohtani jersey, right?
Oh, Japanese.
Yeah, my mom said, I said, Japanese? He won't like it. I'm like, Ohtani's literally the next coming of Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he's like Kobe for baseball.
Like literally.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He said, it's Japanese. And then you think about it, it's like, he lived so close to the time of when that shit happened.
Yeah.
Like I told you, his uncle, my great uncle, was a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
Like my grandma's best friend was kidnapped as a sex slave.
That's crazy.
That kind of shit. Like the reason why my uncle exists is because they had it. My great grandfather was a politician who had the connections, and so he had to get somebody connected with the Japanese government to. He had a son, a Korean guy, who was studying in Japan. Brought him back. Said, come back to Korea. You got to marry this girl or else they're going to take her as a sex slave.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why I exist.
That's fucking crazy.
So I understand why he hates Japanese people.
And then you gave him a Japanese jersey.
Yeah, I was going to give him a Japanese. He said, happy birthday, what?
He's like, how chill, are you over it already? This guy's really cool.
He's the best. Check off.
Yeah. It's so funny. And I told Ed this on this podcast years ago, but there was a guy I knew, and the character that I developed, Kim Jong-il, was based off of two people, Andy Jang and then, my uncle. But he was also very racist.
Yeah.
He hated Japanese people, and he's my age. He didn't even live through it. So there was a dude in college named Daryl, and he's like a third, fourth generation Japanese dude, right? He's American, doesn't speak any fucking Japanese at all, plays baseball, all the other shit. I think he's a baseball coach for a living now. I don't really like him very much, but because he's a Japanese. It was just a regular. There's a whole story about him, but either way, we were chilling in the dorms and hanging out in the room. All of us are kind of getting to know each other. This is like the first year of college. This fool Daryl walks in. Hey, what's up, guys? What are you guys doing? This fool, I'm not even making this shit up. This fool Andy Jang stands up, right? I said his first and last. I don't give a fuck. I hated this guy. He stands up. He gets out, points at him like this. He goes, "Get out of right now," because he's a Korean fob. He's like, "Get out of right now," like that. And then Daryl's like, "What the fuck?" And so there was a guy named Young. So Young and Andy Jang were roommates. They were dorm mates. And then Daryl's like, "What the fuck?" And he gets out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about Korean and Japanese history.
Right, you're like, did he do something to you? Did he personally?
I was like, "What the fuck was that about, bro? Like, why'd you kick him out?" He goes, "He's a Japanese." That's all he says. He's a Japanese. This motherfucker hates him, and I was so fucking confused. And he was like, "You know what they did to Korea?" It's like, he's a Japanese. Get out right now. So he hated Daryl just because he was Japanese.
But you're like, okay, but we're in America.
Exactly. But yo, this dude Andy was so fucking weird. He like lied about everything in his life.
Yeah.
The college was the best place for people to reinvent themselves without anybody having to call bullshit on the because we don't know where they're from.
Right.
Like I'm from Sacramento. This guy is from I don't know where the fuck he was. It wasn't in California. So we have no way of verifying his stories.
Right.
So he would talk about, his taekwondo black belts, who he would beat up in the streets. And I'm talking about this guy had literally zero muscle in his body.
Right.
Like you know those guys who are just like a chest and nipples, that's it. You know what I mean? Like
and a rib cage?
Yeah, and a rib cage. Just this flabby bag of skin.
Yeah.
Dweeby as fuck, hunched over. And he would always threaten people with his taekwondo all the time.
For some reason, I had a youth pastor like that.
What is that?
I had a youth pastor who was always acting like he was half gangpe, but also the boss, but you're also the fucking chandosa, like the fuck?
Like pick a side, dude. Like by the way, this is like another thing too. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I don't give a fuck anymore. I just don't care. One of my biggest pet peeves that I had growing up, especially like, being a part of a church where the gangpe chondosas, dude, like half of them were like either legit gangpes or some of them were just liars. Like,
yeah, the one I grew up with, 100% liar.
Dude, there are so many fucking gangpe lying chondosas and like pastors. Because number one, we can't verify their stories. But as I got older, you ask a few questions and things just don't line up.
Yeah.
Things don't make sense. And then you ask a few other people, they're like, that's not true. Like he didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
Because there's other people who grew up in their age. And they're like, no, he's lying. And they use that to get into the church.
He would tell some weird stories like, oh, back in high school in Korea, like, yeah, my gang, and I was the captain.
Captain?
Yes, I was captain, and I fight
You're
the other.
captain?
Yeah, that's what
they called you?
That's what he was.
That's
like,
hilarious.
And then he's like, yeah, we fight the other high school. We get together, and then but then one guy had this girl. He had a girlfriend, right? She came to the fight, and then she came to my friend, and she spit in his face, and then he came back to me like, "Oh, Young," and he was breathing, right?
And then
because she spit the laser blade,
and then a dragon came up from the sky, and a dragon came down and gave me a sundubu jjigae, and I was like, "This is delicious."
It's like that's what I'm saying. Like, how could I make this up on the spot right now until I actually heard this? My youth pastor tell me this story. Like, come on, bro.
Relax.
She spit the laser blade in his face,
and then he cut it in his mouth.
Yeah. And then so I beat up that captain, and then she's my girlfriend.
Forever.
That's the story he told me. So
Oh
I'm like,
my
yo,
God, dude.
bro.
It's I met so many of those guys. It just would irritate the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Right? Because look, if they would have kept the story simple, right? It's just like, yeah, I did a couple of bad things back. I'm a better person now. But they kind of use that to bank on how much God has changed their life.
Yeah.
So the story that they're telling,
It has to be extreme.
it has to be fucking extreme, right? And I'm not saying that people who do get into these positions that a good amount of them are telling the truth, but there are so many swindlers in the Christian church. It's like you could sniff them out, right?
Yeah.
And look, there's somebody right now out on the internet. I'm not saying names, right? But he also uses his gang pass to be a pastor.
Yep.
Right? And I'm
Love to sit down with this.
we'll
Talk theology.
Yeah, we can talk theology with this guy all day. This guy too, by the way, look, I don't like saying things because I'm not definite about it. But
Yeah.
let's just say I've gotten a lot of DMs about people who knew him in the past, and they're all calling him liars.
Yeah.
Because they all know him. And they're like, he's lying about this. He's lying about this. They've actually sent photos to me about him in his past. And suddenly he didn't, when he was in seminary school, he had no tattoos. I thought they were gang tattoos. He had like almost virtually no tattoos.
Because I think what a lot of people understand, like when you go to church, it's a production.
Yes.
If you're in Hollywood or if you've been on set and then you've also put together a church service, it's a production. It's a live stage production sometimes. Some people get too caught up in it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why when you started seeing millennial pastors with tattoos, ooh, that pastor has a past.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
So I have a buddy of mine too that had a conversation with this guy that I'm talking about, and he was like, basically he was, they kind of grew up around the same area, and so he was asking him a few questions. But when somebody responds with an answer that's so vague, it's like, oh, you're lying.
yeah.
Because they'll be like, oh, do you know this guy back? He goes, oh yeah, I know him. But that's where it ends. Doesn't talk about who he is. When they usually kick it stories, it's just, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, bullshit. That's bullshit then. Because like the person that they're talking about specifically, you would have stories about him.
Yeah.
And then what other people will do, what they do a lot, is that they will take the stories of people that they know because they were kind of around there at that time, and then take it as their own stories, right?
My God. And is that a Korean guy doing that? Because I know a Korean guy who would do that.
I mean, I'll tell you who this is after,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I don't, like I said, until I have half, like it bothers me so fucking much just because I grew up in a church that I have half a mind to the people who are DMing to bring me on the podcast to just call this motherfucker out. Because like literally I could ruin your whole shit right now.
Yeah.
But
it's like, okay, then you don't want to ruin their shit because it's kind of confounding because he's doing it to try to save souls,
yeah.
right?
Also, he's doing it to make his pocket fat big too, because
Yes.
when he does traveling pastor stuff, he's expensive. So that's how he makes his fucking money.
Yeah. I know, traveling pastors make good money. Christians pay.
Yes, they do.
Christians pay. So, look, I was a missionary, and I won't say his name, but so when I was in Haiti, right, like a month or two after their earthquake, so it was fresh in Port-au-Prince, and their Capitol buildings fucking toppled over. It was insane. Everybody lives in a fucking tent now because every building was not built to code anyway, and it was fucked up, and then so we're in the tent cities, and one of the guys I was with tatted up, arms to his chest, Yakuza style, where it like kind of ends like that, and then and he's a preacher, so we'd go to these tent cities where it's dangerous, where a guy. So I lost my earrings. I didn't lose it. I gave it up because they were asking for it.
Yeah.
They're like, "Give me your earring. Give me your hat. So give me your watch."
Oh my
Gave him
God.
watch. Like that happened to me in this tent city, right?
You got robbed, dude.
Yeah. Straight up.
What the fuck?
And so, I mean, what am I gonna do? Like, no,
Yeah.
dude. It's just me in Haiti.
Yeah.
It's not safe. And so, me and the other dudes, like Jason was there too, and this other guy, he tatted up. And so, we gathered these kids together to like preach and shit. Because before, one of the kids was like, "I don't give a fuck about your tattoos. I'll cut your skin off." He said that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he goes up to preach. And he's preaching about, where he's from. He's from Atlanta, and he actually ended up in jail. But when he was in jail, he said, the guy who saved me was a man named Haitian Jack, right? And he was Haitian. He was in jail with me, and he protected me, And he said he protected me because he said God loves me, And that was his thing. And he said, through a Haitian man, God saved my life. And now I'm here in Haiti to tell you guys about God. And then he took off his shirt and revealed the tattoos. And so all these gangster kids were like, this guy's legit. And so he's like, if you want to accept Jesus in your life, come stand up. All these little gangster kids, dude, they had bottles of like rum too. Like,
What the fuck?
Half of them were drunk, and they accepted Jesus
Wow.
right there. You know what I'm saying? Years later, Jason goes, "Yo, you got those tattoos like way after you was in jail."
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about.
But how effective is it?
Dog. move.
It's the move.
It's the fucking move. How many times have you seen that fucking, before Jesus Christ come into my life, look at the tattoo. These are my tattoo. Jesus, look at tattoo. This is me. It's like, God, jig, damn it. They always do that shit. Yeah. That's why when I saw this guy online and he's like, sometimes when he talks about scripture, it's like, that's not right.
Yeah.
It's like to me, it's
something's a
little off. And like, people get amazed sometimes by the things that he says because, this is also a cheap tactic for you guys out there. This is for people who don't know scripture very well. What they'll do is that they will try to break down scripture as if they know the Bible even more than you do by telling you that this word is in Aramaic or you could just do a Google search on that shit, dog.
Yeah.
But it's like, like the story of, I don't know, fucking the story of David. David in Hebrew means this. And it's like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? So they'll start, that doesn't mean you understand the Bible. That means you just did a Google search about what the name meant.
We talked about this in the past. There's a huge Christian resurgence happening in pop culture.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if being Christian is like cool now or the fact that just being conservative, loud, proud Christian is just the thing. But you know what? Those loud Christians are some of the fakest fucking Christians I've ever seen in my motherfucking life.
It's hard, right? Because like, we always talk about our faith and stuff like that too. And I do talk about these things because these are a lot of the bad stuff that I've had to experience, like being a part of sometimes, albeit a very toxic like Christian community.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that the shit that I've experienced is the same shit that you experience in these Korean churches. Like it doesn't, and it's so weird because we lived hundreds of miles apart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you've had the same weird gangpe pastors that fucking lie and cheat their way all the way to the top. And then what the fuck is that?
Dude, when I'm out and I meet people and someone recognizes me, it's because of my testimony, quote unquote, podcast with you when I talked about the whole thing, And then what you realize is all over the U.S. and parts of Canada, let's say, or not just Korean Americans, but then like people grow up in a church or something. Man, it was like the most relatable thing that they had ever heard. And that such weird thing is that everybody experiences these things, whether they're in D.C., Virginia, New York, New Jersey, L.A., Sacramento, SF.
There's something wrong with the system.
Yes.
There's something wrong with it. It's weird that this stuff that we're not even connected to at all has that same fucking issue in the same type of community all across the world. There's something wrong, right?
And yeah, there's needs to be a reformation. Like, we have to cut out all of that bullshit that we didn't need that literally fucks us up to this day. Like, whether even if it is whether it's your sexuality or the way you like look at money or the way you might have learned to be a racist inside your church.
Because here's the hard part too, and this is like something that I've been wrestling with in my head, is like the idea of like I feel like religion is it's loosely used when they refer to themselves as being a part of the religion, right? So somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, for sure I'm Christian," but just like in the basic of basics, like the 10 Commandments alone, you fucked off on 6 of them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I guess like from an outside perspective looking in, right? Wouldn't that make other people who are not a part of the religion think that you're full of shit?
Yes.
It's like, because right now, Muslims are kind of going through the Christianity reformation in the bad way.
Yes.
Where everybody is calling themselves Muslims, but none of them do anything that makes them a Muslim.
The big...
Devin Haney, boxer.
Yeah, and...
Andrew Tate.
Sneeko? Is that a streamer? So streamers too.
Okay.
Whoever. They're coming out and like becoming Muslim or whatnot or whatever. What I'm starting to feel really with this religious resurgence is people are starting to take sides. And that's alarming. When people don't know anything about the religion, but they identify themselves as being a white American and say, well, then I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And then that's dangerous too. And then all of a sudden if, at the same time if you are Arab and then you get treated like shit, perfect reason for, radicalization. There are real FBI reports of shit happening in Washington State of these extremist Christian groups gathering it together to become a militia to do some January 6th shit.
That's crazy.
In the name of Jesus.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's called radicalization.
Yeah.
What's different about those motherfuckers in ISIS? That's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Pretty fucking intense, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't like subscribe to the idea of people having to say that they're a part of a religion when they don't follow it. It's like, I don't understand the objective, right? Because if God is this almighty, all-knowing being, right? Who are you lying to then? If you truly believe that there is a one true God. So if you're sitting here and you're telling other people, for example, the guy that I'm shitting on right now, like in his mind, if he's like, okay, even if I'm lying, at least I'm bringing people closer to God, right? Do you think God is going to look at that? If you truly believe he is this omnipotent, all-knowing being, that he's going to be like, hey, you did it for me, you're good. I think you're going to hell. I'm almost 100% sure you're going to hell, dude. Right?
I don't know about hell. I think that's just more or less like, what would he say? Because perhaps really, like, you did it in my name. Perhaps you did save so many people, quote unquote. When I say save people, I mean born againism, like just becoming Christian.
Yeah.
It's just like at the end, I really think maybe perhaps God doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't think God is up there like, how many Christians did you convert?
Yeah.
How many lives did you save is not how many Christians did you convert. It's literally how many people did you get up off of their feet? How many people did you feed? How many prisoners did you visit?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of shit.
I think how it works is everybody's relationship with God is different. He's going to judge you for what you've done, right? And like I think like the thing that also like irritates me too is just like watching people such as this person here. And once again, I got to say it again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 89% sure, which is pretty fucking high.
Yeah.
Right? Just because of what I've seen here, and people have sent me proof.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm a skeptic. So even if they do that, they might just be hating him for the hell of it. But the photo was pretty damning.
Yeah.
It was the photo of this dude in 70 school. He had no tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Then it's that when it comes to that, then it's like, if your integrity is so lacking, then why, and you say the truth is Jesus Christ, and you're so full of shit, why the fuck would anyone listen to you? And let's say that truth, the real truth comes out, then what about all your followers that became Christians?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, then maybe Jesus.
Exactly. Because once
bullshit.
this, and by the way, all this bullshit will come to light. It always does,
Yes.
right? When I've told stories about, stuff that's happened or whatever, I'm very clear. And anybody who's listening to this podcast, I say, I change details, I change names, and like 80% of it, 20% of it's false. Just because I don't want things to follow people, it's just a little too much, right? And there's also information that you guys shouldn't know. And then on top of that too, when I would tell stories about like all like the crazy shit, like the gang stuff or whatever, I never said it was me. I tell you somebody else's stories.
Yeah.
I'm very clear about that. I know this guy. I know this person who told me this. And even then people would misconstrue it. Just like, oh, you think you're a thug? I didn't say it was me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you these other stories, right? Because when you're a conversationalist, people talk to you, and then you get to hear these stories, and I get to tell it on the pod. If they want to come on this pod at any given time and tell it themselves, they can. They're not going to because they're criminals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck?
Do you know how much it costs to mosaic somebody's face?
Yeah, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not doing the fucking voice modulation shit. Dude, there's a couple of stories I told on here with the guy. His wife doesn't even know the shit that he used to do in the past because he's such a good person now.
Right.
And he doesn't like it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to think about it because he's such a different person now.
Yeah.
This fool told me, I forgot which episode it was, but he heard the podcast. He's like, dude, I was cringing so hard because it's like, I know you're talking about me. And I'm like, yeah, talking about you. But, obviously, once again, name wasn't said.
Yeah.
A lot of the stories are changed or stuff, but it's like the heart of the story.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to say anybody's names unless like...
Mine is Andrew Jang.
Yeah. Unless like the people watching know them too as well or whatever. But then, yeah.
It gets muddy.
Yeah. Look, what we talk about for real is like all the flaws that other people have that we see in ourselves too. I will gladly admit like the bullshit that I have to live through sometimes to just be like, hey, I'm okay. But then, a lot of times am I fighting with myself over my integrity?
Yeah.
No.
I think
because like in my like I can like live with my life saying with integrity I was still myself. I kept it real. That's why I don't call myself a businessman because it takes a lot to I've seen be not so integral.
Yeah.
You know, in business.
And I'll say this too, like when it comes to the idea of like me being a Christian, I don't like. I think I've come to the terms of like, and comfortable saying that when somebody asks me, "Are you Christian?" I'll be like, "I'm not Christian, but I'm learning how to be." Right, and that's okay with me.
Yeah.
Because it's really because when I say I'm Christian, it feels like I'm lying.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm lying because out of those 10 commandments, I've broken a lot of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm lying to God.
Yeah.
But that's the part too. I do believe God exists. It's just that if you were to tell me right now that I feel like if I saw God face to face, would I be proud of the life I lived in terms of what he has said for me? I would say no.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hard for me to say that. It's just very difficult.
And then that has so much more weight and truth and integrity. I don't know why it's making me choke up, David.
Yeah.
But because, like, there's a story of when literally Jesus is dying on the cross, right? And then the guy on his right is mocking him. Like, look at this guy. This guy was supposed to save us all. He's the king of the Jews. And the guy on his other side was like, don't do that, man. He's not guilty like us, you know? And then he said, hey, Jesus, you know, if you're the Son of God, remember me in paradise. And he said, today, on this day, we'll enjoy together.
Yeah.
The simplest form of repentance is like, I'm not perfect. I know you are. And only you can judge me. And that's all we can say. To try to defend yourself in that way, like you said, it's futile, right? How can we judge ourselves in front of an ultimate judge as well, right? Yeah. And so if we could all like learn from that, the simplest form of repentance is I ain't shit, but you are. Just remember me.
Yeah.
You know, God, when it's all over, remember me.
I think that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
Like there's, and you know, aside from like the religious aspect of it too, like reading the Bible and the stories, because it is a historical context. The history in this.
Yes.
The stories are actually really cool. You know what I thought about too the other day, and I think it's because I'm smoking weed a lot now. So there's moments. 99% of the time, the ideas are dumb as shit.
Yeah.
But the 1% makes me think about weird shit. I would say out of all the stories in the Bible, there's one story that has always bothered me since I was a kid, and I never verbalized it, right? Which made it hard for me to be a Christian. You know what story it is?
What?
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark, right? Of course.
Noah's Ark is the hardest story for me to believe in the Bible.
1000%.
It's like, giraffe, come inside.
Yeah.
Elephant, come inside. Cricket, please come. You know? What's Moses just like, I don't, like, that's the part that has always bothered me.
Noah.
Yeah, Noah. Okay. I'm sorry. What did I say? Moses? Yo, my bad, Moses. hey, see, that's like I said, I'm trying to be a better Christian, my bad. I always fuck up Noah and Moses. Yeah. But Noah's Ark, that story has always like fucked with me a little bit.
That used, when I stopped being Christian and I was like, oh, fuck Christianity, that was like my go-to Bible story. That's fucking bullshit. Come on.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, you know, you start learning into, you know, the Ice Age and the ancient apocalypse and the real date that our civilization started 10,000 years ago. And you're like, wait, there was a global flood?
Oh, yeah. So
wait, China has a Noah story. What? Every nation around the world has a Noah story. Did you know that? Every nation around the world faced a cataclysmic flood.
Really?
Yes, in their history, and they all have the same story. Gilgamesh is the OG flood story, right? And that's where Graham Hancock is pointing to, is that some cataclysm happened, i.e. a fucking meteor hit the ice caps. By the way, you know the ice caps in the Ice Age? People don't understand. Like, you know Game of Thrones, the ice wall?
Yeah.
That's what George R.R. Martin based it off of. But in real life, it was way taller than the ice wall in Game of Thrones.
Oh, really?
That's what's so fucking scary. Can you imagine looking up in the sky and you see a 2-mile high wall of ice? That's how fucking high it got.
Wow.
A wall of ice. That's how huge the ice caps was. And their theory is that a meteor hit that, boom, massive flood. And then every nation has a Noah's Ark story.
Holy shit.
I wanted to disbelieve it too. And now I'm like, oh, fuck.
That's so fascinating. That's the other thing too. When I think about the Bible, it's like, when we go through like oral traditions, right?
Yes.
Or things change over time. So is my stipulation is that there are stories in the Bible that are true, and it's just an interpretation of what they experienced and they saw.
Yes.
Right. And that's the part that fascinates me the fucking most. Right. So they found like Sodom and Gomorrah. They actually found where it was. And like in for some reason in the area, ridiculous amounts of salt. So it's like,
Right.
what is this? You know what I mean? So there's a portion of this that's true. Maybe it's aggrandized.
Yeah.
But that part's kind of exciting to me.
Yeah, so for me, I don't think there was like literally one surviving family.
Yeah.
And whatever. No, but yes, there was a flood, and the story that came out of it in the Bible was one guy survived.
It's like a Chinese Noah.
Yeah, but yeah, the fact that the Chinese have
a wagon boat right now.
that's the weird thing. The fact that China has a Noah story is what's baffling. Is that and you look at Google Maps right now.
Yeah.
And you look at the continental shelves. That was the OG, like, what do you call it? Sea level.
Yeah.
Those sea levels have rose that much over the years. So that's why every nation has experienced the flood for sure. And it wasn't like an overnight, but they said 40 days and 40 nights, right? They estimated about maybe 3 months in reality.
See, this is like the type of stuff that I wish sometimes like pastors, if they would
just try science, just a little bit.
Yeah, because I'll tell you this. There was a pastor that told me this version of his Noah's Ark theory, and it made me like almost not be Christian. So it was like, because there was somebody asked this. He was basically asking the crowd to ask questions about faith, and like if you're a non-believer, like what is the stuff that bothers you? And he was talking about, how the earth has like dates, and when you could check the soil
layers.
and the layers and stuff like that. And he was like, okay, so have you guys ever had like a bottle and you have sediment, you shake it up and all the parts mix up in different spots? That's basically what happened. And he just kind of left it at that. I was like, dog, am I 3 years old? And then the whole church clapped. I'm like,
Yeah,
all
because
of
they
you
want to hear some shit.
all of you are idiots. He literally pulled that out of his ass right now.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody just believed it instantly. And I'm like, that's also problematic to me.
Here's then, if we ever get down to if we can mix together a Bible study and a movie review. Have you seen Noah? Darren Aronofsky's movie.
Is that with
starring Russell Crowe.
So I just saw that literally like a few months ago.
It was like Lord of the Rings Noah. But when they did the creation story, it's one of the most beautiful time lapses in cinema history, and a fucking amazing way to explain the creation story when it lines up with the fucking Big Bang.
Yeah.
That's another thing that kind of scares you too. And it scared astrophysicists too 100 years ago, was the fact that, with the science revolution and industrial revolution happening, and now it's the early 1900s, and they're basing, everyone's researching Einstein's new relativity, like what is a theory, all of that. So they're all trying to break it down and whatever. And now there was this one astrophysicist who was also a Jesuit priest, a Catholic, but he was a smart mathematician and astrophysicist at the same time. And he's the one that came up with the Big Bang Theory, but he was scared because he was a Christian. He said, oh, fuck. All of the calculations say, let there be light, and bam, there was light. But I can't tell people this because they're going to say you came up with this because you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Because I'm religious. But it's the calculations, and we released it, and sure enough, a lot of critics of the Big Bang Theory when it first came out, because they're like, this is the creation story from the Bible. And then everyone else had to proof it, and it was like, yeah, this is it. So the funny thing is, I get older, I want to move away from Christianity, and I'm like, what the fuck? The fuck?
It's kind of crazy too, like, because I think like life experience will tell you is that coincidence is not as common as you think it is.
Yes.
Right? There seems, and that's like the thing about like intelligent design, right? It's like, do you think that everything here, from the large aggrandized level also to the microscopic, was just there just because? or does it point that there is a creator and there is a grand design to everything,
Yes.
right? And that's the part that always fucks me up in the head, because when I look at things as, let's say, as intelligent design, things make a lot more sense, right? It's just to say that everything in this happened by coincidence is also part that bothers me too. It's like, that doesn't seem right as well either. So I'm kind of like in this weird like religious purgatory, right? And that's why I'm saying I'm a Christian just trying to learn how to be faithful, because I struggle with this thought a lot. Like I don't want to be like a younger version of myself where I just did it because everybody else was doing it. And then these moments where I felt like religious, like elation, like I felt like I was closer to God, wasn't because I understood him. It was because everybody else was doing it around me.
Yeah.
And I felt good being around this group of people. But when I'm by myself, do I feel that way?
Yeah.
And I think that's a true testimony to like where my faith is. If I don't feel like that way when I'm sitting at home by myself, I don't think that I'm as connected to God as I thought I was.
Right.
I think I enjoyed the community around me that made me feel good, but it wasn't the relationship I had with God himself. And I think that was like another, landmark moment for me. Like it was like, oh shit, maybe I have to reevaluate my faith here, right?
I have the opposite problem, which a lot of people who are missionaries do, because we were 1,000% in the Bible and doing exactly what it says, right? And when a lot of us go back home and go back to our home church, something doesn't feel right. Whether it's not being debriefed right, or you're just like, this isn't real. Something fucked up happens, where you're just like, does nobody else care?
Yeah.
Thing, or, because I think people get it confused as Christians too. They think that you have to be called to be a missionary and not realize that actually being a Christian is being a missionary. Being a missionary is being a Christian. It's just the same thing. They just think, oh, I'm not a good public speaker. That's you. Oh, you're the guy called to do this, rather than, so were you. You were commissioned to do this too, right?
Yeah.
Now, I used to be like that and be like, oh, everyone else is a fake Christian, which threw people away from Christianity, obviously, because I was being an asshole. And so now I had to learn, okay, then the basics of it, like truly, what is it? It's obviously just loving God, right? And loving your neighbor as yourself. You walk humbly and act justly.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, was how much you have to realize that it's less religiosity. It doesn't mean add more hours into your QT. Are you doing a QT 아침에서?
Fucking QT, bro.
Who gives a shit? Are you praying before you eat? Are you reading the Bible 1 hour every day? No? That's religiosity. That's anti-Christianity, actually, right?
And I used to be like that too.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
So what is actual Christianity is like, what's different from every religion, but is that every other religion is trying to climb higher into holiness to get closer to God or something. Christianity is God came down to our level to be with us.
Yeah.
To me amongst us and say, hey, I love you guys. I'm here for you guys. And it's like, you're okay. Yeah, you're not perfect. I'm here to help you through that. It's about having security in your life in that way. It would draw you towards having a more integral life.
And I think that's, just to what you were saying before about why there's this like swing towards religion. I think it's because of that. We found in this period, especially during pandemic, right? And I really do think the pandemic was the thing that set this whole thing off, was people assume that, hey, without structure, people can govern themselves. And like morality is inherent in us. And it doesn't seem to be so. Right?
It's not.
And people actually thirst for a certain amount of structure to make sense of this world.
Yeah.
Because when there's constant chaos everywhere, right? Nobody is personally responsible for anything that they do, right? What you say, how you act, behave. Because now it's getting to the point too where, at first I didn't really agree with this, where they're like, oh, that's a slippery slope thing. Like if you allow this thing will happen. I'm like, no, that's not true. And it's kind of turning out to be that way.
Yeah.
Right? When you give somebody an inch, they go a mile. And a lot of these people who are quote unquote anarchists, they are fine with it, but that's not a majority of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of us like an understanding of what's happening.
They're just the loudest on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we're running into this issue where people are like, well, I'll just leave everybody alone. Let them do whatever they fucking want, which I agree to a certain extent, right? Unless you're getting in the way of what makes me happy and successful.
Yeah.
As long as it's not hurting others, right? But now even then, like they're like, everything is, what's it called, up for debate. But what's hurting others? Is it really hurting? Like, what's hurt? And then it just gets into this rabbit hole. You just keep going down. So nothing fucking matters anymore.
Yeah.
Because like that's the part where the logic doesn't make sense to me, right? Because if you're going to put that for everything that we say and do and nothing really matters, I can literally fucking murder you right now, take everything on you, and you can't say anything. It's like, well, why can't I? I need it for my survival. So who are you to say what's moral? It goes down to that point.
And that was the climax of Everything Everywhere All at Once. The idea of the everything bagel representing suicide, if that's okay to say. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. When I see other podcasts, people like blurt that. I don't know, or beep it. But anyway.
No, I don't think I have to.
The idea is
word.
it represents the cynicism of everything.
Yeah.
You know, that there's so much in the world, there's so much randomness, then or whatever, then nothing matters.
Yeah.
Right? Then if nothing matters, then why exist at all?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're saying, that slippery slope. And why having that acceptance, you know, of that old part, you know, of her relationship with her mom, of our relationship with, let's say, perhaps boomers or Gen X, you know, because this country is so divorced and split, you know, is like, yes, let's face the cynicism, but at the same time, like, we have to choose to be positive.
Yeah.
We have to choose to have that structure. We have to choose to have purpose. You know, because the laws of the universe might say there's no purpose. That means it's anything you want it to be. So you have to choose that purpose. And whether if your purpose is Jesus Christ or your purpose is drawing hentai, you know,
Up to you.
up to you.
But to your point, though, you got to make that choice.
Yeah.
And I would say probably half the world, they don't know how to make choices for themselves. And actually, I think that's okay, because I think there's only a set amount of people in this world that are meant to be leaders, and everybody else plays a very important role to keeping the wheel turning, right? But then we also have a lot of motivational speakers who are like, no, you're a leader. No. Trust me, I work with a lot of people. Not everybody's a leader. And when you have somebody who's a follower that thinks that they're a leader, it's the worst.
Yeah, why do you think they're following and listening to you say you're a leader?
Like I get it, but you know.
That's why in some conservative cases, like, people are chosen, you know, you choose the best of us, which is the republic. But then we're like, hey, here's a guy that represents all of us. Yeah, then, okay, we're a republic. But then when we vote, you know, we vote and say, that guy is like me too. You know, if we could generally just accept it all in that way, that rather than, oh, this side, that side. Yeah, hey, it's working. You know, I think when people scream and say they're evil and that's evil or whatever, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, because I swear every president since I was a kid was going to bring the end of the world.
Oh, all the time. That's like the conversation, right? I will say now, though, I mean, before we wrap up this podcast, it's like this, for some reason, this election seems so much more important than any other election that we've had. It feels weird. Like, I don't know if it's because...
I think it's because it's Donald Trump's last shot. In 4 more years, if he loses this one, could he run 4 more years?
Absolutely not. He's
This would
too
be
old.
his last shot. I think that's why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. You can catch the Genius Brain podcast every Sunday at 12 p.m. There will be no more breaks on this podcast until for the rest of the year. I know you had 2 breaks this year. Give me a fucking break, man. I've been doing this for like 6-7 years. Like, sometimes I need some time off. Dude, I got 3 podcasts. I got a whole bunch of other shit going on.
You go on vacation and still release podcasts.
I know, which is so fucking hard to do. We got Jumbi happening right now. We got Secret Society, a whole bunch of other stuff. But either way, you can catch Ed at Ed Park VP Bible Study at Momo. Genius Brain every Sunday at 12 p.m. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.